couple of years back, we tested the Cube Stereo Hybrid 160. We were impressed by its plush suspension, its powerful Bosch motor, and its high-value spec, but we did find its performance to be somewhat lacking on rowdier terrain. Now, while the Hybrid 160 remains in the Cube e-bike lineup, it's effectively been superseded by this bike, the all-new Hybrid 155. It's built around the same Bosch motor and battery, but it features a full carbon frame with a number of important differences. It certainly looks promising on paper, so how does it stack up on the trail? All new for 2024, the Cube Stereo Hybrid 155 is a do-it-all e-bike. It features 160mm travel fork, 150mm of rear travel, and 29-inch wheels. It's built around a full carbon frame and a 4-bar suspension design with the rear shock driven by a small extension link. You'll find the Bosch Performance Line CX motor, a removable 750 watt-hour battery, the system controller integrated into the top tube, and a wireless mini remote up at the bars. In terms of sizing, the Hybrid 155 is only available in medium, large and extra large, which means shorter riders will have to look elsewhere. The geometry is otherwise pretty standard. We've got a 64.4 degree head angle, a 75.7 degree seat tube angle, a 449mm reach on our medium test bike, and all sizes will come with the same 454mm rear centre length. Unfortunately, there are no flip chips for accommodating a 27.5-inch rear wheel, which we reckon is a missed opportunity on Cube's behalf. There is an angle adjusting headset though, with modular cups that can be rotated around to steepen the head angle to 65 degrees. There are only 2 models in the Cube Stereo Hybrid 155 lineup coming into Australia this year. We've got the cheaper model which still retails for 12,000 Australian dollars. It comes with the RockShox Lyric Select Plus fork and a Super Deluxe shock. We've got a SRAM GX Eagle mechanical drivetrain and Magura MT7 brakes. There is a Newman alloy wheel set and Maxxis tyres with an Assegai on the front and a Minion DHR2 on the back, both with the 3C Max Grip rubber compound. Now, while the wheels are tubeless compatible, for some reason the rims aren't wrapped with tubeless tape from the factory. That means you'll have to buy tape, valves and sealant in order to upgrade this bike to tubeless, which we reckon is disappointing for a high-end e-bike. Now, with inner tubes fitted, our test bike comes in at 23.34 kilos. It is heavier than claimed, but it's still pretty impressive for a full-powered e-bike with a removable 750 watt-hour battery. On the trail, we've been really impressed by this bike's plush and comfortable suspension. Both ends of the bike are thoroughly active, helping you to float through rock gardens while keeping the tyres glued to the ground. Speaking of, the tyre spec is superb. The soft compound rubber and the tough casings provide a load of confidence when thumping down loose and sketchy descents. They really enhance the bike's overall damping qualities, offering incredible cornering traction and off-camber stability. Geometry on our medium-sized test bike feels nicely balanced, and it's notably more planted compared to the Hybrid 160s we've tested previously. The riding position is comfortable and it keeps you nicely centered within the wheelbase. Combined with the long chain stays, the supple suspension and the sticky tyres, the Hybrid 155 absolutely monsters up steep and technical climbs. Traction is plentiful and spinning out the rear tyre is a rare occurrence. I've had no issues with pedal strikes or front wheel lift, and combined with the punchy motor, this stands as one of the best climbing e-bikes we've tested. And you can certainly make the most of its climbing abilities thanks to that big 750 watt-hour battery. I've mostly ridden in the e-MTB mode, and depending on the terrain, I've been able to achieve a 60km ride with 1900 meters of elevation gain on a single charge. The motor itself is really impressive, and there are plenty of tuning options via the Flow app. We've actually done a separate video on this Bosch system, and you can check it out via the link above. As with many longer travel e-bikes, the Hybrid 155 can be a lot to wrangle. It's not particularly light, and the big battery puts a lot of mass high up and forward on the bike. It certainly holds a lot of momentum when you're flying downhill, which is great from a stability perspective, but it can be difficult to change direction quickly. It is worth noting that this frame is compatible with Bosch's 625 and 500 watt-hour batteries, the latter of which would drop 1.3 kilos of weight. That would no doubt make it easier to pick up the front wheel and move the bike through flowy single track, though of course you'd have less total range. As a lighter rider though, I'd love to see those battery options available at the point of purchase. I'd also love to see mullet compatibility built into this frame. A 27.5 rear wheel would no doubt help with agility, and it would also provide more arse to tyre clearance, which is currently an issue given the modest dropper post travel. Of course, the dual 29-inch setup will be less of an issue for taller and stronger riders. And for the most part, the Hybrid 155 is a well-balanced bike that delivers loads of usable grip and stability across rugged terrain. I'll also note that while it is plush, it isn't totally stuck to the ground. The custom-tuned shock and the progressive leverage rate means it doesn't surrender all of its travel immediately. There's actually a reasonable amount of pop that helps you to spring off of jumps without suffering from a hernia every time you yank up on the grips. Now, in terms of components, our test bike has been something of a mixed bag. Much of the spec is ideal for hard e-bike riding, including the excellent tyres, the piggyback shock, the short crank arms, and the one-click shifter, which prevents you from overshifting with the mechanical drivetrain. Unfortunately though, some of the other details are a bit lacking. Not being tubeless ready out of the box is disappointing. Making matters worse, the valve for the rear tube is too short, forcing you to remove the Bosch magnet every time you need to check pressures. As well as being on the short side, the dropper post on our test bike had a lot of friction from new. In fact, with the seat collar torqued to spec, it would bind up completely. This was thankfully replaced under warranty, and hopefully it's just a one-off issue. I also can't say I got along with the Magura brakes. These felt okay in the work stand, but on the first descent, the front brake lever came in all the way to the grip, which would indicate a poor factory bleed. The long levers also present some ergonomic challenges, and even with the reach adjust dialed in all the way, the levers were still too far away from my hands. Now, Magura does offer a range of different levers aftermarket, though obviously you'll have to pay for those if you wish to change them. During that first ride, our test bike also exhibited some clunking from the front end. This turned out to be due to the headset cups, which have a front and rear orientation. However, the lower cup was rotated slightly off-center, resulting in significant bearing play. Correcting the cup's position thankfully sorted this out, and again, we're hopeful that this is just an isolated incident. The thin plastic battery cover makes a bit of noise when rocks are flicked up from the front tyre, but it otherwise does its job. Many riders will appreciate the easily removable battery, and I'll also have to say that the frame's charging port is one of the better executed examples that we've come across. It's also great to see plenty of frame armour, including the thick chainstay protector and heel rub guards, which should keep the frame's paint finish looking fresher for longer. Now, when it comes to overall value for money, our SLX 750 test bike is pretty reasonable. If you've got the extra cash to spend, however, we'd recommend looking at the next model up. That bike comes with a Fox Factory Series 38 fork, a Float X2 shock, and a transfer dropper post. It also upgrades to a Shimano XT group set, race face finishing kit, and high-end Newman alloy wheels. If you can afford the extra grand, we reckon it's for sure the model to go out of the two. Of course, both bikes are built around the same frame and Bosch system, so whichever way you go, you'll be getting the same powerful motor, big range capability, and sorted handling. And while we would like to see mullet compatibility, overall we reckon the Cube Stereo Hybrid 155 represents a positive improvement over the Hybrid 160. It offers a plush and comfortable ride quality that inspires confidence when you're charging along technical terrain. It's calm and competent at speed, and it's a particularly brilliant climber thanks to its long wheelbase, high traction tyres, and punchy motor. Now, if you've got any questions for us about the Hybrid 155, make sure you drop those into the comments below. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time. Tooroo!